Welcome to Our Family Stories, a podcast by Global Peace Women. We started this podcast because we realized that in our families, there's so much we are learning. In the happy moments, in the sad moments. As we talk, we're learning a lot. In this episode, we'll be talking about how we, in our families, can support the Korean dream and larger goal of peace. Hope you enjoy. Welcome back to the Our Family Stories podcast. It's a podcast that we started this year with Global Peace Women to share our family stories. And without a doubt, every time it ends up drawing some tears from me because I think everybody's family stories are so profound and so special. And I definitely learn a lot from sharing like this about how I can raise my family, how what I'm doing now will have implications into the future and also in today's world. So today we're taking a big global topic and trying to distill it down to how can we make small changes or big changes in our families to help contribute to it. Ms. Park is from Korea, and for over 70 years, that peninsula has been divided, despite the fact that you are one people. It's a division that is a Cold War phenomenon, a division driven by ideology, and a division that has kept families literally separated from each other for 70 years. And I know there's been a lot of work being done through coalitions like Action for Korea United, of which Global Peace Women is a part of, but somehow it's always the next nuclear missile test or, the next breakdown in negotiations. So today, I hope, because we're Global Peace Women, we can talk a little bit about what we can do in the family to contribute towards reunification. So before we start, let's do an introduction.
Hello, everybody. My name is Yang Singhwa, work for Global Peace Women International. So I am the mother of two sons. I live together with my two sons and my husband and my mother-in-law. I was born in Korea and was grew up in South Korea. So as a Korean, I'm very interested in unification of North and South Korea. So I am pleased to be here talking about this topic. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Shraddha?
Hi everyone, my name is Shraddha and I work with Global Peace Women as a social media specialist. And for today's topic, being an outsider to some degree about this topic, I've always read articles, I've always read stories, heard it through videos, but I think today's the first time I'm actually talking about it with someone. And so I'm looking forward to this specific topic for today.
Me too. My name is Hanako. I live in the United States. I have 4 children, 3 boys and 1 girl. And when we talk about Korea, definitely it is a topic of interest, not just because it hits the news, but because of the human aspect of it, right? Of families divided, but also of people suffering. And we definitely do think, what can we do to end this bad situation, for lack of a better word, this bad situation. So yes, we are also outsiders, but we care very much. So we really appreciate that you're here, Ms. Park, as the insider to help us outsiders figure out what we can do to help. And as tradition on the podcast, we usually show a short clip. Today's clip, I didn't actually prepare a clip from one of our family stories, but I pulled something from before. It's just a short 1 minute, no music, no fanfare, but it's a clip of different families who participated in a family reunion.
삼촌이라고 내가
어디서 쓰셨어요?
전혀 기억이 안 나는 거지. 근데
So maybe the way the Korean people view the unification of South and North Korea probably might be different from other countries. So we don't look at only political or economical perspective. We think we are the one family, right? So we have a same ancestors, same language, same cultures. So that is why we cannot only rely on the economic or loss or political risk. So we need to talking about our relations with North Korea and our heart and what kind of a country we need to be together with the 홍익인간 spirit. Right. So when you see that video clips, so everybody feel that it's not just a political strategy. And just notice that, wow, they need to be unified. Right?
But it's been so long.
No, so in Korea we have a many Park family, right? Also in the North Korea there are many Parks family, right? So maybe we recognize, right? They are Parks, so we have a same ancestor, right? So we are same family. We might be relative, right? So many Korean people think in that way. Yeah. So maybe so in Korea, regularly we conducted a survey about awareness of unification, right, to the young people. Yeah. So maybe they don't feel about they don't feel the necessary of unification, right? Because they don't know North Korea. Actually, in my experience from 2016 to 2018, so I worked for another organization. I had been in charge of supporting briquette boiler to North Korea house and support to build the heating house by going to like Gyeongang mountain area in North Korea at the time. So our team organized the youth volunteer team in South Korea and dispatched them to the North Korea to do house building volunteer project with North Korean together. So can you imagine the moment when South Korean meet North Korean? How they feel together?
What was it like?
So maybe first they are surprised. Oh, they speak same Korean language. Wow, their surname is same with me, right? So they are our we are same nation, right? So maybe so in their head they might be feel that why we need to do be unified. We don't need to that. We are happy now, but when we meet and see and talk and serve together, they can feel that we need to do unified. And also, when they see the separated families in the Korea, right? So they feel that we need to do unified. Right? The reason why we need to do unified is not from the data or news of economically or politically, right? It's from the people's heart. So also, if they have a vision to build new country together, they can see the future is bright, right? So we can appeal that. So not only we are originally used to be the same nationality, but if we think about our future in Korean Peninsula, right? So if we build a new country, we can see the hope and the new growth, right? Opportunity in the future. So in that way, we can persuade the young people. So maybe they don't know about Korean people, North Korean people. I mean, maybe we need to make them to experience, make them to communicate more.
You know, earlier she touched on the young people, and that's something that, you know, me as someone who's watching and hearing about North Korea and South Korea, all these conversations, as someone from the younger generation, I also think that we need to have more chances of experiencing all these experiences that the older generation has felt. Because without experiencing, I think it'll be hard for the younger population to connect, even though they are from the same land. And it's one of those things where I think, I don't know, through education, I mean, there's a lot of education out there, but it's just opportunities for them to personally experience the connection, the interpersonal connection, communication, the difficulties that, you know, people in North Korea and South Korea have faced when they're separated from their families, and when they're all those years of yearning and only to finally meet after who knows how many years. That's just a topic that really needs to be emphasized from my perspective. And without that being emphasized, it'll be a little hard to help them, you know, push them into this reunification that we all want. But I think that young people can definitely help drive up the whole division, reunification.
I'm a history buff, and I happened to be in Korea during the centenary of the March 1st, 1919 movement. So 100 years after Korea's first independence movement, there was a peaceful movement for independence against Japanese annexation. Came right at the tail end of World War I. And what I feel when both of you talk is, wow, actually, I always fantasize about being in these history making moments. What would I do? Would I be in those, like, in the center ground of those movements or not? But then I realized, wait, isn't now one of those moments where there is this moment to change the course of history, and isn't it falling right in the laps of the Korean people? And what can I do to, like, encourage them and be there, be the US that's, what do I do? What can we do?
Yeah, I watched the video she made. We support the Korean dreams, and right. I think it was very touching. Right? So I felt like we are not alone, but we are hoping together, one dream, one Korea together. Right? So in that way, you can support Korean people.
Definitely. And then I think Global Peace Foundation's done a great job giving access to information about the situation, the history, the current circumstances. And even myself and my son, we've sat into some of the sessions. So having exposure like that, like you said, having exposure to the situation and having that heart-to-heart connection, definitely makes you want to do something. So I guess if we talk about, let's talk a little bit about what can we do in our homes, as sisters, as mothers, as wives, in our homes, to cultivate that that heart of connection that would drive our youth, that would drive our families to want to do even small things towards reunification.
I think one step that you've already taken with Masa is just taking the step of learning and just simply participating in those webinars is a huge step, because I'm sure there are a lot of people who would just say, why should I spend the time just to learn about something that doesn't really matter to me. That's just taking the step of listening to the stories of an actual person who survived through their tale from coming to North Korea to somehow landing in South Korea or another country. Hearing those personal stories are another form of you yourself connecting to the person, and in that way you end up being inspired and wanting to learn more and motivated to hear about more stories from other defectors or other North Koreans, and in that way it just spurs this chain reaction of you wanting to learn more, and then hopefully it'll the information will go on to other people and they'll become interested and they'll be like, oh, what are you learning about? And then you end up sharing all the information that you gained, even from just that one webinar alone. And it just spirals from there on. And it ultimately, for me, I think is you need to take that first step of even learning a little bit about it, and from there on it'll have a snowball effect.
Actually, no. In the globally, online campaign is the easiest way to start, right? Online campaign and sharing story and also fundraising for the refugee of North Korea, right? So that is the first step, I think. So if we build the network of the youth, so we can make we can raise our voice into the international society. So I think that is the best thing.
Yeah, there's in the same book, one of the things that Dr. Moon talks about is power of people united by a vision. So, but it definitely means that every individual has a responsibility to become that catalyst of change, because you need to hit a certain momentum in order for it to happen.
You know, for many separated families, they're getting old,
Yeah.
right? So maybe we need to raise the leader from the second, third, and fourth generation of separated families, and then so they need to keep going on, raising their voice and sharing the story and giving us the hope. So that is very important thing we need to do.
Actually, that's really inspiring for me to just what you just said, right? So I'm always thinking, what's the action? What's the action? What's the action? But just sharing the story, just continuing to talk about it is important, because it keeps that hope alive. So yeah, when you say just to encourage them to continue to tell the story, it inspires me, because I can see that small action has power.
Yeah. So maybe so as a mother in my house, we have a couple of books about refugee stories. So suddenly my second son, he's interested in that book and read all of the books and thinking about North and South Korea unification issues together, right? So maybe in each home you might have a chance to share that kind of story and read a book together. So maybe in that way you can pass the kind of vision to your children and to the next generation.
Hard topic.
Yeah, hard topic. It's
Hard
very
to-
hard. Yeah.
I'm sure you've been talking about for 70 years. It's
Mhm.
still a topic. So, but definitely inspired by some of the small action steps that can be taken.
Yeah, step by step, one by one, you can start.
Mm-hmm. I think that's the important mindset. Step by step, one by one. Not snap of the finger magic. Great. Any closing remarks, Shraddha, then Ms. Park, to close this out?
I think there's actually a lot of really good points that was made just in the last 20 minutes alone. Hanukkah, when you said you have to act, you have to be the catalyst to change, that really struck with me, because if you don't take the first step, then there is no future steps. You're just stuck at where you are. And the whole meaning behind the storytelling and learning about it, that's like the combination, because when you learn through someone sharing their story, you form this memory of, oh, this person had this experience, and then you take that in, and then from there on you share with others and you explain, oh, I heard about this person going through this, and sharing your opinions and feelings about it. And from there on, there's the catalyst where you decide to take someone's story, share it with someone else, and who knows, maybe they'll share it with another person. So and so said this, that they experienced this through this little story session. And from there, it's just, and as we talked about earlier, it just spirals into this whole art of communication and storytelling. And from there, it leads to campaigns, global campaigns, social media campaigns, conferences, and ultimately the reunification.
I see the map.
Yeah. vision. There's a vision. Once that first step is taken, there's a vision for the rest of the steps, and the goal is there. It's always been there, but it just becomes one step more clear.
Nice.
Yeah. Maybe I think we are all connected together as a one family, right? So every country has a sad history, right? Just as the historical pain of the world, it seems like my pain, right? You can feel. So my pain seems to become a pain of all family around the world, right? We are all connected as a one family. But in other world, if we feel the hope, we feel the courage, so we can give them the great strength. Right? Also, other families support and campaign. It seems to be very great strength to Korean people, okay, because we are connected, we are one family, so we can feel, right? So maybe watching the video, we support the Korean dreams. It was very touching to me. So maybe if we keep going on this kind of touching stories and campaign, one day we can make our dream, right? It comes true.
I love that. The Korean dream speaks to a hope that all of us have, right? To move past historical pain. Because like you said, every country has some sort of pain. But if we can figure out a way to move past and work together towards a common vision, I think that's a formula for everyone's happiness. And so, yes, I support the Korean dream because I want to see everybody's happiness. Yeah. So, thank you. I think today I experienced the power of the Korean dream to connect not just the Koreans together, but all humanity together, at least in my heart. So I'm really grateful for this session. Thank you, Shraddha. Thank you, Ms. Park.
Thank you for joining us for this episode. Make sure to subscribe and tune in next time.